2009, the International Association for Near-Death Studies had its annual conference in San Diego, California. After interviewing several near-death experiencers, I found that if you listen to their accounts with an open mind and heart, it just might change your life.
Hi, my name is Linda Jacquin. I'm at the I.A.N.D.S conference, and I've had many near-death experiences. I've been on the board of I.A.N.D.S for 6 years and editor for 2. I've spoken at many times in Canada and also in the United States, Hawaii. And I would like to share, which I have not shared before on film, my second near-death experience. It's an empathic near-death experience, which means that I actually went with a friend to the light. When I was 7.5, I had surgery on my eye, my right eye, and I came out of the surgery. I was in my hospital bed. It was after visiting hours. They made my parents go home, and I was so frightened. I couldn't see. Bandages covered both of my eyes, but my hearing was very acute. My sense of smell was very acute, and I heard noises from outside my room, the clanging of carts going down the hall, and somebody dropped, I don't know if it was a bedpan, and it made this loud noise. I could smell that antiseptic smell of a hospital back in the late 50s. And I was very frightened. They made my parents go home, and I had never been away from my parents before. Never slept in the same bed by myself because I always shared a room with my little sister. And so this was a very frightening experience. I heard this swish of beads, and somebody came by my bed, and I realized it was a sister or a nun, and she scolded me saying, "Be a good little girl and stop your crying." And I felt like she was so mean to me, and because I didn't understand what was happening. And then someone called her out of the room, and I was in this big bed all by myself, and all of a sudden I could see, because I was outside of my body. And I saw my friend from school. His name is Jimmy. And Jimmy came up to me and he said, "Linda, can you walk me home?" And I said, "Sure." So I took his hand and we started walking toward the light. And we were just 2 little kids walking toward the light, and it was so comforting, and it was great. And when we got close to the light, I saw other people there. They were waiting for Jimmy. And they started waving, and then he saw them, and he dropped my hand and started running toward them. And when he did, he grabbed hold of them, and they were hugging him, and then he turned around and waved goodbye. And for a brief second, I thought, oh, I can't go with him. I have to go back to that horrible place where I can't see, and I'm so afraid. And instantaneously I was back in my body. And instead of being afraid, I was at peace, because the light came with me. And beside me were my 2 angels that I saw in my first near-death experiences as a child of 4.5, and I drowned. That day, God helped 2 children. The day that I had surgery on my eye, Jimmy, my friend, was hit by a car and brought to the same hospital that I was in. When Jimmy died from the injuries of his broken body, when he was outside of his body, he knew to find me because I knew the way home from my childhood NDE. I was helped by Jimmy, by God, because I was so afraid. And after being in this light and coming back with the light, I was no longer afraid. From this experience, I realized that love exists for everybody, and we always can get help. Even as a small child, I knew this. So I have work yet to do here. But when my work is done and it's my time to go home, I really look forward to the day when I can look up and I see Jimmy's smiling face looking down at me, and he's saying, "Linda, take my hand and I'll walk you home."